Greetings, everyone. My name is Satya Rhodes Conway. I have the honor of being the mayor of Madison, Wisconsin. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and for those of you who are out of state, welcome to Wisconsin. We're delighted to have you here. As the 2024 Republican field takes the debate stage tonight, you'll be able to hear straight from the horse's mouth about the extreme and wildly out of touch vision, and I put that in air quotes, for America. This group supports ending Social Security and Medicare as we know it, cutting taxes for their rich friends, undermining our election, something that we know a little bit about in Wisconsin, and taking our freedoms. And yes, that includes a nationwide ban on abortion. Let me be crystal clear about this. The 2024 MAGA Republican presidential candidates are running on their extreme anti-choice records. DeSantis signed extreme legislation in Florida that bans abortion before many women even know that they are pregnant. Tim Scott co-sponsored multiple abortion bans and vowed to sign the, quote, most conservative national abortion ban possible if elected. Nikki Haley signed an abortion ban as governor of South Carolina that had no exceptions for rape or incest and threatened doctors with jail time. Mike Pence has called for banning abortion in every state, and was actually the first Republican presidential hopeful to do so. Chris Christie opposed Roe versus Wade and said that striking it down was the right decision to make for the court. Doug Burgum signed one of the strictest abortion bans in the country as North Dakota's governor, with no exceptions for victims of rape or incest after 6 weeks. And Vivek Ramaswamy supports 6-week abortion bans at the state level, again, before many women even would know that they were pregnant. I'm sure that they're going to talk about freedom on the debate stage tonight. But what about the freedom to make my own health care decisions? I guess that their version of freedom doesn't include women. And here's the bottom line. The American people don't want anything to do with their abortion bans. Voters in states all across this great country, including right here in Wisconsin, have made it clear that the craven abortion bans are wildly unpopular and out of step with the American public. And with the people on our side, Democrats are fighting back against their bigotry and doubling down on our commitment to protect reproductive health care amid ongoing Republican attacks. Fighting for freedom, for more rights, not less, has been the cornerstone of President Biden's first term. And I've got a message for these Republicans. We are just getting started. As Republicans fixate on ripping away more of my rights and yours, I am grateful to have a president and a vice president who are fighting tooth and nail for the freedoms that we hold near and dear to our hearts. Thank you again for being here today, and now it's my pleasure to introduce someone who is organizing thousands of voters and volunteers across the great state of Wisconsin, the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, and my friend, Ben Wickler.
Thank you so much, Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, and thank you for your constant defense of democracy in the state where democracy is on the line. I am honored to join Chair Harrison and Congressman Richmond in the state that could determine the 2024 presidential election and where the tale of the tape is crystal clear. In Wisconsin, MAGA extremism falls flat. We're anticipating a debate tonight where candidates are leapfrogging each other to the most extreme fringes of ultra-MAGAism. And yet, when you look at the record in the state of Wisconsin, over and over, Wisconsin voters reject MAGA extremism. They reject the attacks on fundamental freedoms and economic security and dignity. They reject the very kind of ultra-MAGA Republican candidates that will be swarming the debate stage here in Milwaukee tonight. So let's just look at the record for a moment. In the state of Wisconsin, Democrats and Democratic-supported candidates have won 15 of the last 18 statewide elections. Just ask Senator Tammy Baldwin. Ask Governor Evers and Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Ask Attorney General Josh Kaul. Ask President Biden and Vice President Harris, who has been winning elections in the state of Wisconsin. This spring, in our state Supreme Court race, voters had as vivid a choice as you could imagine between a Trump-endorsed former Supreme Court justice who personally advised the plot to overturn the 2020 election, and a judge that they hadn't met before, Janet Protasewicz, who ran with clarity that she would always consider the case before her rather than just the agenda of right-wing MAGA billionaires, and who believed at a personal level in reproductive freedom. That election was a choice between MAGA extremism on the one hand and common sense, fairness, and justice and freedom on the other. And Wisconsin voters gave Janet Protasewicz an 11-point landslide. This spring was a freedom landslide in Wisconsin. It was a clear message from Wisconsin voters that they wanted to turn the page on the era of extremism represented by all 8 of the Republican candidates who will be ascending to the stage of the presidential debate tonight. And their message this spring was consistent with the message that they have sent over and over from 2018, when Democrats swept every statewide election for the first time since 1982, to 2020, when they reversed Trump's victory in 2016 and became the tipping point state for the Biden-Harris ticket, to 2022, when they elected a Democratic governor in a year with a Democratic president for the first time since 1962, to this spring, when they flipped the majority on Wisconsin State Supreme Court for the first time in 15 years. The issues that propelled these elections are on the table again in 2024, and every one of the Republicans running for president at this moment is wrong on these issues. Wisconsinites have tasted the alternative. They experienced 8 years of proto-MAGA extremism from Scott Walker. They experienced the attacks on workers' rights, the attacks on reproductive freedom, the attacks on public schools and teachers, the attacks on democracy and voting rights. And they rejected that kind of politics. They rejected Scott Walker in 2018, and now because of Governor Evers, Senator Baldwin, because of President Harris and President Biden and Vice President Harris, because of Attorney General Kaul, Wisconsin has been and continues to be on the right track. And Wisconsinites are experiencing record low unemployment and rising wages and the possibility of a restoration and an expansion of freedom and democracy in the state that all of us Wisconsinites love. That is what Wisconsinites want to see more of. That is what they are voting for. And that is what they will not see on display at the Republican debate tonight. The record is crystal clear. Wisconsinites do not want to go backwards to MAGA extremism. They do not want a future in which their freedoms are ripped away. They want to move forward. That's our state's motto, and that's what President Biden and Vice President Harris represent. So we are fired up, we are watching, and across the state of Wisconsin, last weekend and weekends all the way from now until November of 2024, Wisconsin Democrats will be knocking on doors, having conversations, organizing, and doing the work to ensure that none of the people we see on this debate stage get anywhere close to the White House. And with that, I'm so honored to introduce someone who believes in the power of organizing and the message of freedom, democracy, and common sense for working people in our country, our great Democratic National Committee Chair, Jamie Harrison.
Hey folks, I hope you are well. Welcome to Milwaukee. I first want to thank Mayor Conway. I want to thank Chair Wickler. I want to thank Jason Ray, our secretary, who is here as well, who is born and raised here in Milwaukee. And I want to thank Congressman Cedric Richmond, the co-chair of the Biden-Harris campaign. You know, for the past several months, we've seen the 2024 MAGA Republican field crisscross the country. And they have been running a race, folks, a race to the bottom to secure this Republican nomination for president. And tonight in prime time, Americans will have an opportunity to see in action the most extreme, the most divisive, the most chaotic slate of presidential candidates in history when these MAGA 2024 Republicans take the debate stage here in Milwaukee. And I don't know if it's going to be a debate, but more like a circus. You know, they may try to differentiate themselves, but the truth is that every single one of these candidates, from Donald Trump on down, are extreme. They want to put our economic recovery in reverse and raise costs on working families. They want to give tax handouts to corporations and the ultra-wealthy while slashing Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They want to erase the progress that we've made in the fight against climate change, even as millions of Americans suffer more frequent and more severe weather events. They want to erase our history and teach our children that slaves benefited from slavery. And they want to take away our freedoms and push a nationwide ban on abortion, even as voters have repeatedly made it clear in red states, in blue states, in purple states, that we're not interested in their anti-women, anti-choice agenda. That's what they stand for. And now here's who they are. We have Ron DeSantis, as we say in the South, bless his heart. This guy has pushed an extreme MAGA agenda focused on taking away Floridians' freedoms instead of focusing on the high costs that are crushing Florida families. We have Tim Scott, I know him well, proud Tea Party Republican, who has promised to govern from, and I quote, the far conservative right. We have Nikki Haley, who I know even better, who as governor signed into law an extreme abortion ban that had no exceptions for rape or incest. We have Mike Pence, who is still Trump's MAGA wingman and was the first candidate to call for banning abortion nationwide. We have Vivek Ramaswamy, who is so desperate to be Donald Trump 2.0 that he's running around spreading conspiracy theories about 9/11 and threatening to change the voting age from 18 to 25. We have Doug Burgum, who has signed some of the most extreme MAGA legislation into law in North Dakota and is trying to buy his way into the Oval Office. And we cannot forget good old Chris Christie, who has suddenly forgotten the fact that he campaigned for Donald Trump in 2020 and is every bit as MAGA as the rest. So let me sum this up for you all. No matter who you pick, this group is as extreme as it gets. A bag full of MAGA apples, and they are all rotten. They are wildly out of step with the American people. While they're busy racing to win over the MAGA base, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have been laser focused on fighting for the issues that matter most to the American people. And by every measure, my friends, they have delivered. They've delivered the strongest 2.5 years of job growth in the history of this nation. Over 13 million jobs created, including good-paying union jobs, Nikki Haley, union jobs. An unemployment rate near 50-year lows and a record low unemployment for African Americans. The largest infrastructure investment since Dwight Eisenhower. 4 years Donald Trump talked about infrastructure week, never filled a pothole. Joe Biden got it done in his first year. The most ambitious climate agenda in the world. An American manufacturing, not boom, a renaissance. Lower energy, healthcare, and prescription drug costs. And in Wisconsin alone, where Trump once touted thousands of jobs through a Foxconn project that never materialized, the president's economic agenda has delivered tenfold. Private companies have invested more than $3 billion here in Wisconsin in clean energy infrastructure, including $1 billion for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We provided more than $1 billion in funding to provide affordable, high-speed internet, created more than 135,000 new jobs, and delivered over $145 million in home energy cost savings for families. Folks, that is Bidenomics in action. On one side, we have President Biden and Vice President Harris and Democrats who think that America's best days are ahead of her and focus on the issues that matter most to everyday Americans. And on the other side, we have MAGA Republicans who are fixated on dividing us. They want to take away your freedoms, are skeptical of climate change, and are campaigning on ending Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid as we know. Contrast couldn't be clearer. In 2020, the American people made their voices heard when they chose unity over division, hope over fear, competence over chaos. And they're going to do it again next November when they send President Biden and Vice President Harris and Democrats up and down the ballot back to the White House, back to Congress, back to state legislatures to finish the job that they've started. Folks, it's indeed my honor and pleasure to welcome to the stage now my good friend, Congressman Cedric Richmond.
Thank you, Chair Harrison, Chair Wickler, and Mayor Rhodes Conway. Thank you for your public service. Thank you for what you do. And I think it's the best example of the difference between us and those that will debate tonight, is that the focus is always on the American people. It's on them. It's on their community. It's on their families. And how do we make their lives better? And I want to thank both chairs for organizing this so that people understand that there are two parties espousing their values tonight. And you will see one side that is a race to the extremes in order to get to a MAGA base, and the other are the four people assembled here talking about the American people, the challenges they face, and how productive this president was. And I will try my best not to go over some of the things that were already said, but what I do want to focus on, because I was there to witness a lot of it, was the focus and the accomplishments of President Biden and Vice President Harris since the first day that they took office. They've worked to restore the soul of this nation, protect and defend our democracy, protect our fundamental rights of all Americans, and to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. And that, I just want to say, is not just a philosophy, it is a value proposition. Because the president said in his campaign when he started was that the middle class built this country and labor built the middle class. And he wanted to restore that focus on working families. And so when we talk about his first 2.5, 3 years, it's been historic. And I'll just run down some of the things that distinguish us. While Donald Trump had the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover, President Biden has helped create 13.5 million jobs, the most ever created in 2.5 years. As Jamie mentioned, we have the lowest unemployment rate in almost 50 years, and some of the lowest unemployment for African Americans and Latino families on record. After a recession that was made worse by Trump's failure to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic, President Biden has led the strongest economic recovery of any industrialized nation in the world. And I want to make sure that people understand that President Biden came in office focused on fighting COVID, but also restoring this economy and making sure that we continue to lead the country. The other thing that distinguishes this president from the people that you will hear tonight, when the president talks about COVID and leading us out of COVID, he doesn't talk about it just as a pandemic. He talks about it as the fact that so many people lost husbands and wives and children and parents, and that it was a toll on the families in this country. After President Trump promised to restore manufacturing, even took credit for manufacturing projects that never happened. Jamie mentioned Foxconn here, and there are others. President Biden has ushered in a record number of new manufacturing jobs, and here in the Badger State and all across the country. And what that means is people going back to work, families having another breadwinner in the house. And what the president has always said since day one is that a job is not just about income. It's also about dignity. It's about humanity. And so that's why we have such a focus on the job creation, the historic job creation by this president. We also delivered, unlike the former president touting lowering drug costs, President Biden actually did it. And when you talk about capping insulin at $35 for our seniors, that is a big deal. That means our seniors don't have to make the hard choice between groceries and medicine, or paying their rent or other bills and their medicine. And that's the type of leadership that we are so proud of in the Biden-Harris administration, because again, this is about families. This is not about politics. This is about delivering on purpose and making sure that we fulfill and help our American families. And so when we talk about the Republicans turning a blind eye to the climate crisis, this president has delivered the most expansive address to climate in the history of this country. I'm from New Orleans with Katrina. We see what's happening in Hawaii. We see what's happening in California. We see what happens with our forest fires across the country and hurricanes that go from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the East Coast. But this president decided to tackle that because, again, this is about the American people. And so while, we had 1 million infrastructure weeks while I was in Congress, the president delivered on none of them, the former president. But this president came together with the leadership that he talked about during the campaign and in a bipartisan manner passed an infrastructure bill. And I know for a fact he hates when I just say an infrastructure bill, because that's not how he looks at it. He looks at it like a mother or a father or anyone that's hours that they don't have to sit in traffic every day when they go to work. He looks at it, the fact that there are 10 million households that don't have to drink contaminated water anymore because it's coming through lead pipes. 400,000 daycares in this country where children don't have to drink contaminated water anymore. So again, I will say that this is about the American people for the Biden-Harris administration. And the last thing I'll say on accomplishments, you have a president that actually took on the NRA and beat them. It hasn't been done in over 30 years because he knows it's about our families that are losing loved ones. It's about parents that send their kids to school scared of what's going to happen. It's about the fact that people actually buy armored backpacks for their children. So you'll hear tonight more about banning books than you will about banning assault weapons. And from our president and our vice president, they are focused on making sure that we keep our families safe. So I won't go any further because I prefer to you all to ask questions, but I will just tell you that the difference you will see tonight is a race to the extreme issues that the MAGA base want to talk about and what they want to hear, and you will hear a feeding frenzy in an attempt to do that. But from here, you will hear us focused again on the challenges that the American people face, our ability to meet them, and our ability to
all of those states, all of those territories, they have their own delegation that has events for 2 weeks during the convention. So if you're the state of Illinois or California and you come to Milwaukee, you're planning out your entire week for hundreds of people from your state. So the idea here of doing this vendor fair, along with our friends at the Republican National Committee and the great chair Ron McDaniel, the idea, yes. The idea was that we wanted to feature all of the local businesses here in those states to plan their own days. So if you need tables for a rooftop event, you go to that vendor. If you want to go on a charter boat for fishing, you can go find that local vendor. And the idea that we're committed to and that Ron is committed to, and of course the mayor, is that we will try to keep as much as we could locally here in to thank the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier Johnson. He has been absolutely fabulous, and it's actually, you know, in the role of being in a 501c3, it's a little different, but I'm sure he gets a little nervous when Reince Priebus is complimenting the mayor of Milwaukee, because obviously we're from different political parties, but quite frankly, what's great to see here, and I think we can all agree, whether you're hardcore Republican, Democrat, Independent, it's nice to see that you can have Republicans and Democrats working together for the future of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. So with that, eventually we're going to hear from the star of the show, Chairman McDaniel, but first, another star that has been integral in making sure that this convention gets off to a good start is what's called the chairman of the Committee on Arrangements. Now, what that means basically is the person in charge on the RNC side of the equation. I'm the host committee, but on the RNC side is a great leader who used to be the chief of staff of the RNC and did a great job there, and is a leader down in the state of Indiana, is the committee woman of the state of Indiana and chair of the Committee on Arrangements, along with, as her co-chair, the General Chairman Ron Kaufman, but the chair of the committee is Ann Hathaway, and I'd like to introduce her now to talk to you all. Ann.
Thank you, Reince. It's my pleasure to be here. The site selection committee didn't take long to decide. Milwaukee was where we needed to be for the 2024 convention, whether it be Visit Milwaukee, Mayor Johnson, Reince. We were welcomed, and we are just so excited about launching the year today to the world. We are launching Milwaukee to the world today, and Milwaukee is welcoming us as we get ready for tonight's debate and we start planning for the year. I'm excited about this relationship with the business community. We opened the portal, the host committee opened the portal to recruit Milwaukee and Wisconsin businesses in order to have partners, as Reince described, for all of the delegates that will be here and the guests. We expect over 50,000 visitors who all need to have businesses to work with, whether it be caterers, balloons. And there's one special lady here today who replied to our RFP for merchandise that you can purchase out front. Candace Lilland from Proforma over here responded and won the first bid, so we meant what we said when we were going to invest in Milwaukee businesses. So we're excited for Candace. Know that for those of you who haven't registered yet, the portal is still open and there are plenty of opportunities. The planning is beginning. Today's the first day, but we have lots to do in the next few months. So the next speaker is our chairman, Ronna McDaniel. Please welcome her to Milwaukee.
Hello, Milwaukee! This is amazing. This is about you. This is about people coming together and caring about your community. I want to thank Mayor Cavalier Johnson, Reince Priebus, Ann Hathaway, Elise Dickens, who is our CEO, you're not seeing her right now, and then Peggy Williams-Smith, who's had to visit Milwaukee over here. She's done a great job. We have so many great partners. So today, we have 300 different vendors that are here in our vendor fair. 48 of them are owned by minority-owned owners, and 45 of them are owned by women. This is what we want to see, the diversity, and two of these great businesses are owned by veterans. So we are so excited for you to walk around, to look at these businesses. The impact that this convention and the debate will bring to the city of Milwaukee is estimated to be $200 million in revenue coming to the city of Milwaukee. And it's not just about the RNC. That's not what it's about. It's about the business owners and the people of this great city and showcasing them. And that starts here today. So let's give them a huge round of and revenue into the city that I love. And that is what leaders do. They put away their partisanship and they do what's best for the people they represent. And while we are very different politically, we are both absolutely committed to making this the best debate and the best convention for the city of Milwaukee that we possibly can. Please join me with a huge welcome for your mayor, Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
Well, hello, Milwaukee! What a great day it is. Thank you so much, Rana. I want to thank, of course, Lights. I want to thank Ann. You heard her, the compliments to Peggy Williams-Smith and all of her staff at Visit Milwaukee, who did an incredible job helping us to secure the Republican National Convention. Thank you all so much. I want to shout out as well Ted Kellner, the CEO of the host committee. Thank you, Ted, for being here as well. You know, so Ron just gave a short story about why I thought it was important. When I was initially running for mayor just last year, before the election, about 2 weeks before the election, I took a day or so off the campaign trail to fly to the RNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. to help in the final pitch, the final push to bring the Republican National Convention to Milwaukee. And folks did sort of scratch their head because they say, I'm a Democrat, it's a Republican convention. Why do you want to do that? Well, if you walk around this vendor fair and you see the businesses from all across Milwaukee, literally every district, every single aldermanic district has been represented. All those businesses, right, even the diverse businesses, especially the diverse businesses, they employ Milwaukeeans, people who live in our neighborhoods, people who live in our city. They will be able to cash in and take advantage of the economic opportunity that is present from the RNC coming to Milwaukee. That's why I thought this was important. That's why I thought this was important. And, it's not even just the RNC. We've seen successes when the RNC comes to town, when large-scale events like this come to town. So the RNC, the convention that will happen in Milwaukee next year, is going to present an incredible opportunity for Milwaukee. An incredible opportunity. Not just to have the eyes of the country and the eyes of the world on our city next year, but I think it'll open the door to have Milwaukee in the conversation, to have Milwaukee a part of the talks that happen when other large-scale business, political, sports, entertainment events happen all across the United States. That's what I want to see. I want Milwaukee to be on the map. I don't want Milwaukee to be in some other city's shadow. We're a city of our own. And this convention is helping us to stand up and say, hey, we will be seen, we will be heard, we want more business, we want more things like this in Milwaukee in the future. And we could not have done this again without all the people that I mentioned earlier. So let me once again say thank you to Ryan Springs. Let me once again say thank you to Ann Hathaway. Let me once again say thank you to Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. Let me once again say thank you to Peggy Williams-Smith and Visit Milwaukee.